ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੀ ਸਕਾਈਜ਼ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਸਨੋਬਰਡਸ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।
F-18 is active in the Royal Canadian Air Force. They all, of course, aren't painted blue like this one. Most of them are gray.
ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੇ ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਜੋ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਏ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀ F-35 ਜੈਟਸ। ਸੋ F-22 ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਨ ਫੋਰਸਿਸ US ਫੋਰਸਿਸ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹੀ ਫਲਾਈ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ। तो मेरे पिछे जिहड़ा आ टैंकर है वाटर टैंकर आ यूज़ हुंदा है फॉरेस्ट दियां फायर्स बुझाउण लई। 75th कैनेडियन इंटरनेशनल एयर शो। सो 75 साल हो गए है कैनेडियन इंटरनेशनल शो होंदे। इस वीकेंड 31 अगस्त 1 सितंबर और 2 सितंबर जिहड़ा कि लेबर डे वीकेंड है तुसी टोरांटो दी स्काईज़ दे अंदर आ जिहड़े कैनेडियन स्नोबर्ड्स है तुसी इन्हां दे शो देख सकते हो। और जिहड़ी कैनेडियन एयरफोर्स है 1924 च एस्टैबलिश हुई सीगी और 100 ईयर्स दे आर सैलीब्रेटिंग कैनेडियन एयरफोर्स celebrating 100 years of their services. So Royal Canadian Air Force ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ snowbirds ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੋਅ 'ਚ ਹੋਊਗੇ। ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ F-22 ਹੈ USA F-22 ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰੈਪਟਰਸ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ F-18 ਵੀ ਇਸ ਸਾਈਡ ਖੜੇ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਕਾਕਪਿਟ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਵੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਔਰ ਪਾਇਲਟ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਫਿਰ ਦੱਸ ਦਈਏ 31 ਅਗਸਤ 1 सितंबर 2 सितंबर 3 दिन ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ 75th कैनेडियन इंटरनेशनल एयर शो डोंट मिस। इस अमेजिंग थानू एयरप्लेन्स अगर इंटरस्ट है तो तुसी एयर शो देख सकते हो। और 100 साल हो गए कैनेडियन एयरफोर्स दे 75 साल हो गए जिहड़ा इंटरनेशनल शो है कैनेडियन इंटरनेशनल एयर शो। मेरे पिछे जिहड़े आ सारे हॉक्स भी खड़े है डकोटा रैप्टर्स वो भी है F-22 भी है और कैनेडियन स्नोबर्ड्स भी है। गलबात करते हैं पायलट के नाल। So मेरे पीछे जिहड़ा प्लेन है F-18 CF F-18। So Nick, if you can tell us about this plane, what is this used for? And is this active in the Canadian Air Force now?
The F-18 is active in the Royal Canadian Air Force. They all, of course, aren't painted blue like this one. Most of them are gray, like the jet you see behind you, and they are at the frontline tactical fighter squadrons and the training squadrons in Cold Lake and Bagotville.
So if you can tell us about F-18's performance and major use, major specialty of F-18.
Yeah, it's a multi-role combat fighter aircraft, so it has a great capability to do a little bit of everything. So it's very good as an interceptor, it's very good and air-to-ground with its sniper pod and its selection of air-to-ground weapons and capabilities, and it's also good with air-to-air as we can put on an 11 or 12 missile loadout depending on what you want.
So you'll be flying this on the Toronto air show?
Yes, we'll be flying Saturday, Sunday and Monday for this show.
Okay, so any message to the viewers, those who want to see F-18 in the skies?
Yes, if you want to see the F-18 over the skies of Toronto, downtown, come out to the waterfront. Love to see you. Definitely wave at me, I'll be waving back at you.
And finally, F-18 and F-22, how much is the difference in that and between F-18 and F-22?
Well, it's sort of comparing apples and oranges. They were built for different things. Okay. So while they both are frontline fighters, one is obviously quite a bit newer, the F-22 being the newer aircraft, and it was purpose-built to be an air superiority, air dominance fighter aircraft, whereas the F-18 was built to be, like I said before, good at a little bit of everything. So a little bit of air-to-ground, a little bit of air-to-air as well. So compromises have been made for the F-18 in order to do a little bit of both. Overall, it's a great aircraft. The F-22, of course, has a lot of power. It's really good at its role as an air superiority aircraft.
So how many F-18 we have in the Air Force?
That's a hard question to answer because we've lost a few for crashes over the years. Some are heavy down in maintenance, and we've also acquired a few more F-18s for parts reasons and to actually fly from the Royal Australian Air Force as well. So to be honest, I don't actually have the exact number on me of serviceable airplanes right now, but many.
Okay, in terms of the crash, whenever crash or casualty happens, the pilots, they are able to eject their seats from the fighters, or the speed is too high that it's not possible to eject?
No, our number one job in the case of that kind of emergency would be to put the aircraft into a suitable regime where ejecting is much, much safer. So that's priority number one, and that's what we're going to do. But you're correct. In an emergency situation, we always have the opportunity to eject out of the airplane and safely land by parachute.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Thank you. मेरे पीछे ਜਿਹੜੇ फाइटर्स है रैप्टर्स F-22 रैप्टर्स आ ਜਿਹੜੇ फाइटर्स खड़े है एस कैनेडियन एयर शो च तुसी देख सकते हो टोरंटो दी स्काइज दे अंदर F-22 रैप्टर्स कैनेडा ने साल पहले जो अमेरिका तो बाय किते सी F-35 जेट्स सो F-22 है जिहड़ी अमेरिकन फोर्सेस US फोर्सेस सिर्फ वो ही फ्लाई कर रही हैं और बाकी कंट्रीज़ ਨੂੰ भी F-16 बेचे गए ਸੀਗੇ बट आ ਜਿਹੜੇ F-22 रैप्टर्स है आ US एयरफोर्स ऑपरेट करती है ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰਸ और पायलट ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾत ਕਰਦੇ हैं
So this jet specializes in air-to-air combat. So it's the premier air dominance fighter in the world. So it's very stealthy, extremely fast, has phenomenal sensors around the jet, and then is super maneuverable. So it can do maneuvers that no other combat-ready fighter in the world can. Max speed Mach 2, so twice the speed of sound, carries 18,000 pounds of fuel internal. So F-22 specializes in air-to-air combat. That's our bread and butter. F-35 specializes in surface attack, suppression of enemy SAMs, things of that sort. So different mission sets. We're more meant for getting in that air-to-air fight and dogfighting compared to the F-35, which is specialized in taking out targets on the ground. We still operate the F-16. So Air Force, US Air Force operates the F-22 and F-35 for 5th generation fighters. So some of the F-16, F-15s, those fighters, and are still in service. Yep. So we'll only have one F-22 up in the air at a time. So just a single ship demo. We'll also be flying in formation with a World War II era P-51 Mustang during our show.
ਸੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਟੈਂਕਰ ਹੈ ਵਾਟਰ ਟੈਂਕਰ ਆ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਦੀਆਂ ਫਾਇਰਸ ਬੁਝਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਬੰਬਾਰਡੀਅਰ ਦੇ ਵਾਟਰ ਬੰਬਰ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਵਾਟਰ ਬੰਬਰ 9 ਹੈ ਜਦ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸਸ 'ਚ ਅੱਗ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਆ ਯੂਜ਼ਫੁਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਕੋਲ 9 ਬੰਬਰਸ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ 'ਚ ਜਦ ਅੱਗ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ 4 ਡੋਰ ਹੈ 11 ਤੋਂ 12 ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ 6000 ਗੈਲਨ ਵਾਟਰ ਅਸਕ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਤੋਂ ਨੀਅਰੈਸਟ ਲੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਪਹਾੜਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਫਾਇਰ ਬੁਝਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਵੈਰੀ ਯੂਜ਼ਫੁਲ ਟੂਲ ਫॉर ਦ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਫਾਇਰਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਪਾਇਲਟ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਟਰ ਬੰਬਰ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੈ ਵਾਟਰ ਬੰਬਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਜਦ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ 'ਚ ਫਾਇਰਸ ਲੱਗਦੀਆਂ ਸੋ ਆ 6000 ਲੀਟਰ ਪਾਣੀ 11 ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਸਕ ਕਰਕੇ ਪਾਣੀ 'ਚੋਂ ਤੇ ਆ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਫਾਇਰਸ ਉਹ ਬੁਝਾਉਂਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਂਸ ਸ਼ੈਫਰਡ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੱਸੂਗੇ ਇਸ ਬੰਬਰ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ Lance, if you can tell us about this tanker.
It's a CL-415 water bomber. I'm a captain on it. I've flown them as a captain for about 8 years. This is the water tanks where the water comes from the lake where we're scooping across. It takes about 10 to 12 seconds to pick up a load. And once we're airborne off the water, we get directed to the fires where we're putting them out, and where they want us to put water on. We can do 2-minute turnarounds or less sometimes, depending on how close the water body is. And once we're done our fuel cycle, we return to base.
So Lance, how bad are the forest fires? Because in last few years we have seen the many forest fires in Alberta and Ontario forests.
We have Ontario was quieter this year, but this aircraft has been out to Labrador this year and BC as well to assist other provinces.
Okay, so how many Ontario has these kind of bombers?
We have 9 415s and we have 3 Twin Otters on water bombing floats with the availability to put one more on if need be.
These seems to be a very small tanker. So 6,000 gallon comes into these?
3,000 together. And it's not just in the tanks, it's in the floor as well. So that's why it looks deceiving.
Okay. But seems to be a very big
it's a big aircraft. Yeah. Because it's got to be buoyant because it's a flying boat.
Okay, yeah. Flying boat, and the people also, the other things also comes into this carriage?
If we go to a province, we'll put our spare kits and stuff, extra tools and tires and stuff like that. So if we have issues with the aircraft, we can fix them at the base or wherever we're at.
Okay. Yeah. So these are the best tools for the forest fires, or anything better can be done for?
Well, we knock the fires down. Ground crews actually put them out.
Okay.
Because they have to dig the hot spots out and things like that. But we're there to assist them, and we're quick to get there. And if we can knock stuff down before they arrive, it makes their jobs easier. So we work together.
So which was the challenging forest fire you had seen in your career?
Oh, it's project fires where we get Mother Nature isn't being our friend, so we have to change tactics all the time and wait for the weather to change, and it helps us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, so this is the button to push the water
to drop, open the doors. Yeah.
Okay.
And then here's the button for the probes that you saw on the outside to pick up. So as we scoop across the water, that goes up once the water is full. The tanks are full.
Is this the level of the water?
And that gives you the level of the water. And as you drop the load, you'll see the door open buttons open up, and that lets you know that everything's out in the water. You'll see the quantity drop down. And that's it. And the doors close. So we go back to the lake, configure the aircraft for the water again, and then go around and around.
Okay, one question, like when there is a fire in the forest in particular area, how you judge that this place we have to drop the water because the air is there, and with the air the water can flow to the other area? Targeted hit on the fire.
We'll have air attack above us to guide us where they want the hot spots, and we have flare capability to see hot spots. Or you just mitigate it as best you can where you think it's going to be most effective. Because sometimes there's smoke. The fires will create their own weather, and the smoke will come across so you can't see. So you have to find your exit. So you might drop on the side of it, and then if the head or the smoke moves over, then we can work our way into it. So it varies. Each drop's a different configuration or a scenario. Yeah.
Okay, when we have to release the water from this bomber, when we press this button, whole of the water, 6,000 gallon, it goes at one time, or we can drop into
it's 3,000 gallons. You can drop them all at once, which is a salvo drop, or with the computer, we can do one door at a time.
Okay.
Or we can configure it in an auto form, so you can drop 2 doors with a delay.
I see.
And 2 more, or you can drop 4 doors in like a 0.3 delay, so it'll string it out. So
how many doors total? 4?
4 doors. Yes.
Okay. So every door can release water.
Yeah, it has the same quantity in each segment, all coming from the tanks.
Okay.
Yep.
And when we go for a forest fires, and how many people they are in the
2
cockpit?
pilots.
2 pilots.
Yep.
Always
2 pilots. The plane's certified for two crew operation.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Frank.
You're welcome.
So ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਾਇਲਟ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਐਡਵਰਡ ਹੈ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਦ ਪਲੇਨ ਦੀ ਇਜੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਇਨ ਕੇਸ ਆਫ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਔਰ ਅ ਕ੍ਰੈਸ਼। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਪਾਇਲਟ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੀਟ ਇਜੈਕਟ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਕੁਝ ਕੇਸਿਸ 'ਚ ਦੇ ਆਰ ਨਾਟ ਸਕਸੈਸਫੁਲ ਟੂ ਇਜੈਕਟ देयर ਸੀਟਸ। So sir, if you can tell us, in cases of a crash, how the pilot they eject their seats, and in many cases we have seen they are not able to eject their seat properly, and the incidents happen, the casualty happens. So if you can let us know about that.
Yeah, so any ejection seat equipped airplane has that system to protect the pilots who are on board. Depending on the airplane, they're each actuated in a slightly different way, but part of the pilot's training is to know a circumstance where you're going to use that last chance to kind of save yourself or the crew. And every airplane has kind of limits that the ejection seat is designed to work in, whether it's altitude or speed required for the system to function. And the success of an ejection depends on kind of what state the airplane is in versus those required parameters.
If I ask you, what are the main 3 points which comes in the training of a pilot to make consider of the safety, or what else comes in the?
So safety is a key consideration in pilot training for everyone. I'd say the big takeaways in pilot training are you need to understand the systems on the airplane you're flying and the systems of the air navigation kind of system. You need to develop the hands and feet, the coordination of how to physically manipulate the airplane, and then you need to understand how to prioritize. So you need to be able to step back and say, if I have 10 things to do right now, which is the one I need to focus on, and then work your way through the other priorities when you're trying to manage various demands.
So what is the main priority out of all this for the pilot?
Well, often it's summarized by a phrase we use called aviate, navigate, communicate. Okay. So aviate is fly the airplane, make sure that you're in an energy state that will be safe. And then once you know that the airplane is flying and not going to fall out of the sky, then you can think about navigating. So where do I need to go? And finally, you can talk to others about it, whether it's air traffic control or other airplanes, because there's no point talking if the airplane isn't under control. And so that's why we encourage students to fall back on that in terms of a way to prioritize their actions.
So which plane you fly mostly?
So I fly the Canadair Tudor with the Snowbirds here, and that's all I fly with the Airforce right now. And prior to that, I instructed on the CT-156 Harvard 2.
Okay, so youth, those who want to join the aviation field or Canadian Air Force, become a pilot, any message for them?
Absolutely. I learned to fly when I was 16, and I did it through the Royal Canadian Air Cadets. So Air Cadets is a program that is sponsored by the Canadian Forces, but it's a youth program that teaches leadership and a variety of skills. You can join as early as 12 and stay in until you're 19, and that's one of the best ways for youth to learn how to fly at no cost to themselves.
Okay, so we see that 1924, it means that Canadian Air Force launched their first services in 1924?
Yeah, so the Royal Canadian Air Force was established in 1924, and so this year we're celebrating 100 years of that organization in its current form.
Thank you, Edward.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So Tristan, if you can tell us about Canadian snowbirds, about the maintenance, and for what purpose these snowbirds are used for?
So yeah, I'll start off on the maintenance alone at the very beginning. Maintenance takes quite a long time. I will say that. It really depends on what breaks and when it does break. It could take upwards from a couple hours to days. Yeah, it's been, for the entire season at least, no major problems have happened, so the season's been going smoothly. For the actual aircraft itself, it is predominantly just used now for our own show team. We don't use it anymore. In the past, it was used as a jet trainer. Okay. It was replaced by the Hawk. Now the Hawk is slowly going to get replaced here. But for the most part now, this aircraft is solely just for air demonstrations and performing air shows in front of crowds. Okay, so now the snowbirds are not active in the Canadian Air Force now. These are just for the shows. No. So every member on the Canadian Snowbirds team, we're all active military members. We have pilots to public affairs, technicians like myself. We're just spread out. We're all based in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and that's where we're predominantly from. But yes, we are a military organization. We're a part of the military unit. Okay, so how many people can sit in the snowbirds capacity? For flying? Yes. So for transit days, we do two members can be in the aircraft. So myself, this is actually my aircraft right here. Okay. So I will fly on the left side, and then my pilot will fly on the right side. For transit days, we could do that. And then for the actual show and performing in front of a crowd, it's only one person yet. Okay, so these are used for the shows, the international Canadian Air shows also. And are these used for the training also? For if you have to train some pilots, then these are being used? Yes. So what happens in our general season, I'll just kind of run you through it. During the summer, as we are now, we'll go through an entire show season all throughout. And then when we get to the actual fall into the winter time, that's our training. So we'll come back home, we'll stay home for the whole winter months, and we will train new pilots and readdress or adjust any errors that happen during the show season. This is a lot of turnover at times too, so you'll have a lot of new faces that will come on the team the following year. So there's a lot of work up to be ready for the following summer. Okay. So as you come up into the cockpit, it is, as you can see, an older aircraft. It was made back in the early 50s as a prototype, then slowly became mass produced in the 60s. So same ejection seat, same canopy, practically the same instruments in the actual front dash there. We got two sticks. Obviously it's a side-by-side seat. It's not front and back like you'd have on the F-18.
This is the Red Arrows, the Hawk T1. We're out here in Canada for basically just showcasing the aerobatics of the aircraft, and out here for what is our 60th display season, the Diamond season, and also celebrating the 100 years of Canadian Air Force. We're really looking forward to being out here for the 75th anniversary of the Canadian International Air Show. These aircraft have been in service in the Air Force for over 30 years now, and they've been recently extended to 2030. Some of the key features is they can reach speeds of up to like 1.2 Mach. They can go up to like 800 miles an hour knots. So that is a smoke pod. So when you see all the red, white and blue colours coming out the back, that is basically the kind of the reservoir where we keep all the diesel. So we've got 1 minute of red in the front, 1 minute of blue in the back, and then we've got 5 minutes of white smoke in the middle. So the way that gets transmitted is It goes through the system, through some pipes, and then shoots out the back into the engine's efflux basically, and then it vaporizes and produces the smoke at the back. It can carry about 1,300 kilos max. We can open up the top and gravity refuel and get it to about 1,350, but yeah, 1,300 kilos is kind of like the max it can hold, just off pressure refueling. So they have the ejection seats up there, and they basically got a handle in the middle, which they would pull up, brace themselves, and then go off into the sky. Yeah, so basically what we have here is the outside air temperature sensor, and that basically sends information through to the cockpit, and then it's a pretty simple system, and that's how they can tell what the temperature is outside pretty much.